and welcome to another white knuckle edition of W.A.N.K, the weekly AEW news kick, where we focus on the ins and outs of this week's AEW Dynamite. I am joined, by always, by my co-host Patrick. Guten Abend, Patrick.
Guten Abend, wie geht es Ihnen?
Abend. Thank you very much for correcting me. And we are not joined by AEW's resident sound engineer tonight. He is unavailable, but never fear, we have a replacement from the Western Bias podcast. Is our good friend Hugh. You've probably heard us mention him a few times. Hey there, Hugh.
Hey there, I'm here. How's it going?
Hey,
we've been talking for like an hour. How's it going?
Yeah, we had some issues setting up the sound, but all good
as always, I caused technical issues just by being present. It was great.
You're terrible. So, tell us a little bit about your interest in wrestling, Hugh. When did it start? When did you get into AEW, etc., etc.?
I guess it started, I don't know, kind of late. We had family friends who had Sky when I was a kid, and when I was really young, so they'd be it's 1993. So every now and then I'd catch a Diesel Shawn Michaels match and not know who those people were.
Well, similar to me, I was kind of familiar with it from a young age, because I think on our first episode I mentioned how there was someone at the football club my family used to go to that gave me pogs, WWF pogs.
Yeah,
and so
right.
I was familiar with Bret Hart and Yokozuna and stuff, but that's not what I started watching.
The new generation.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I guess when I was 11, there were two things everyone was into, was Pokemon and wrestling. Exactly, I was into both a lot. So so I'm kind of a child of the Attitude Era.
Aren't we all, I think? We all.
Yeah. But then, of course, that's I think that's the biggest wrestling's ever been, isn't it? The Attitude Era? For both WCW and WWE.
Yeah, well, there was some people who still thought it was real then, which boggles my mind.
It's funny, because literally both Eric Bischoff and Vince McMahon said on TV that it wasn't. But still,
So it was similar kind of... It was probably I'll tell you what it probably was. There was... Because you had, in the 80s, kayfabe was still alive and well before the curtain call. So you had all these adults that were still left over from the 80s who still believed it was real in the late 90s, and the entire new audience were kids in the late 90s. So even though the secret was out, do you know what I mean? You've got the kids that are gullible enough to believe it because they're kids, and all the adults that watched in the 80s.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah,
watched it in the 80s. So
I went away, and then in about 2006, I was. No, it's even later. It was 2007, 2008. I'd gotten so sick of it, and then I caught some TNA. And that's kind of the peak TNA period, 2006, 2008.
Oh yeah.
And I was
we mentioned that before. Patrick said that before. 2006, 2008 is peak TNA.
Yeah, and I remember watching it, being you know what this is? It looks like a fight. It actually looks like a fight. And
it looks like a fight, and it was fun. The pace of it.
Yeah.
It's my big thing is pacing in wrestling, and I think.
Exactly.
Based on this Dynamite, we'll talk about that tonight.
And then I kind of went away again for a while, and then I started watching Lucha Underground, and I love Lucha, so that was.
Hugh is our Lucha Underground expert, R.I.P. though, right?
Yeah.
And how do you feel about the fact that Jake Hager was the last Lucha Underground champion?
Well, not good, because I don't like him. To be honest,
a good wrestler though, isn't he?
Yeah, it's when I say I don't like someone, it is mostly from a Mark point of view.
We've talked about this before. It's the lack of charisma. You can't fake charisma. Do you know what I mean? And the same thing was with Alberto Del Rio, one of the best technical wrestlers.
But then I actually quite liked him in Lucha Underground.
Was he in Lucha Underground? El Patron?
Yeah, early, mid-season 1, he was the champ for a while, and he really struck a kind of convincing figure. But Lucha Underground, I think, sort of had that thing where they could make you believe a guy who you had hated for ages was great. Just through their booking style. I really appreciate it. I wish it had paid people properly and not been a horrible place to work.
You can probably tell,
it's so good.
I didn't watch it week in, week out, but I miss it. I miss from the ones I've seen, and I'd like to see, because they really pioneered the cinematic style that we now see in WrestleMania matches, and do you know what I mean, along with Matt Hardy, I suppose, with his, but the week it was kind of like a soap opera, but. It was good. It was compelling. It was great.
It was very influenced by a Mexican-style telenovela. I think it was meant to invoke that spirit. But I also think it genuinely was, one of the defenses of wrestling. People say it's fake. You kind of go, so is Game of Thrones. Lucha Underground kind of said, well, we're just going to be a TV show that has seasons. We're not going to run through the year. Yeah, I think that was part of it.
And so you're an AEW fan as well.
Indeed, I am. Yeah.
We got a favourite wrestler?
That's basically because I like things that aren't WWE, and the most successful people who weren't WWE went, we're going to make a company.
Don't we all?
Yeah.
Hugh also has a podcast. It's not a wrestling related podcast. Give everyone a 20-second brief of it and why they should listen to you.
Okay, it's the Western Bias podcast. It's me and my friend Mauricio Villavizar, who we are foreigners in Iceland who do stand-up comedy. Not right now, obviously, though we actually do have shows every month here, one show a month, which is still the most stand-up comedy happening in the world, I think, apart from in New Zealand, maybe. But yeah, me and him are just comedians, and we think of stuff we want to say, write it on a piece of paper, we pull it out at random. It's honestly not really about much. There's some politics, there's some, like... I get a wrestling reference in every week, to be honest. So even though it's not about wrestling, I bring up wrestling.
Yeah.
You know, there's a... Yeah, honestly, there's not much of a theme other than we both talk too much, so we just thought it would work, and it kind of does. But it's fun. We're both pretty funny, so, you know, it works.
Yeah, Hugh is pretty funny, I can confirm. Right, let's launch straight into Dynamite. We open the show with Eddie Kingston versus Lance Archer. This had a big fight feel to it. I don't know what you thought about that, Patrick.
Yeah, definitely. Great. It had a real nice big fight feel into it. Especially I like both of them are like more the heavier guys, or Lance Archer more powerhouse guy. Yeah, and they're like, and they have really hard-hitting styles. They're colliding there. So this is what I was really looking forward to. I don't want to go to the end of the match. We will talk about this stuff, I think, a little later.
We'll talk about the beginning. I mean, Lance Archer got a big pop when he came out, didn't he?
I cannot say. Was there a big pop? Was there even an audience? I didn't see any audience.
Was it just Austin Gunn? Yeah, I mean, it might have been a forced big pop.
And this fake audience, they also put in like the soundtrack or so. They just put in which.
I thought I heard pumping crowd noise. What's that, you?
Austin Gunn is always a one-man pop, though, isn't he?
Oh, I've taken a few issues with him this week, but we'll talk about it later.
Yeah, but he seems to love everything, which is good, I guess. You know?
No, he's been the spirit behind keeping the crowd feel alive. But it's just this is the first week I've had something negative to say about Austin Gunn, and I'll come to it later because it's not relevant right now. Lance looked super legit. It was very much a brawl.
Yeah. And also, like, the only bad thing I can really say about it was the botch with the what was it, choke slam that was botched outside of the ring. And I don't know if...
Did it look botched to you?
Yeah, it looked botched. Because he landed... It wasn't a real choke slam. Like, you could see...
I think that was just for safety, wasn't it? To turn onto his hip, to bounce off that.
He just hit the side of the apron. And I think he was supposed to hit the whole apron. It didn't look completely safe that he had 100% control over him there.
I mean, but it might. If it was a botch, it was one of those botches that ends up looking more gruesome. So, you know,
that's fine. And no one got hurt, not unlike on WWE on Raw on Monday. We don't want to talk too much about it, but if you want to see a real
come to that in less important shows, because I don't know about that, so I'd like to hear about that.
Okay, cool.
Hugh, were you a fan of this match?
Yeah. I mean, it was far from my favourite match of the night, but it had the right things. I agree with Patrick, though. I do think that chokeslam was a botch. Yeah. I'm not sure, because I can't wrestle. Maybe it wasn't. You know, I don't really know. But it looked like a botch to me. But I generally thought they did a good kind of, I don't know, this thing of being like, well, Eddie Kingston's the smaller guy, but he knows how to, like, hurt your knee to make sure you can't catch him. They sold that pretty well. I'm always negative about things. I don't think it was a bad match, but I'm generally not. I don't care about Eddie Kingston and Lance Archer very much right now. I think I will, because I have cared about both of them recently. But like right now, I'm just like I don't know what this is. So I can't fault the match at all. You know.
I'm definitely buying stock in Lance Archer right now. I like this tweener thing he's got going on. I like how it was kind of a face move how he sent Jake the Snake to the back, which obviously backfired on him because
Butcher the Blade
brought out Jake beat down. But yeah, no, it was good. I thought it was good. I thought it was good storytelling. I mean, you say you're not a fan of Eddie Kingston. I don't know if you caught on one of our other shows, Sports Illustrated named him the number 10 wrestler of the year across all promotions. So, and I don't think it's down to his technical ability is the thing, because a lot of the stuff he does looks. I mean, he executes stuff fine, like he'll hit an enziguri, but he won't get the height on it, or he won't get, he doesn't really have the athleticism. But he tells a good story, and I think that's what it's about.
I'm not a fan. I'm sort of unwilling to call anyone a bad wrestler just because I can't wrestle. It just feel like, well, okay, Jason, who I've just added to our wrestling group, who might come on this because he's got stories. He sort of says, well, I tried to be a wrestler and it's really hard, so I feel bad saying I think this guy's bad. And I don't think Eddie Kingston's bad. It's just not quite for me. It's just he's not quite doing something that is for me, I think. But that's fine, because AEW is not like a specialist promotion. It's trying to be a big generalized promotion. So it can't all be Lucha Underground. I would love it if it was, but it can't,
Jack's probably with you there, so you're the perfect fill-in for him. Something from this match, what Patrick said about punting crowd noise, it's all making sense now about how I don't think there was a crowd there. And I think this pretty much confirms it, was the fact that there was a holy crap chant, not a holy shit chant, a holy crap chant. Like, when have you heard that? Do you know what I mean?
I don't know when it was, but I heard also the holy crap, and I remember this video from the crowd, but it was during COVID already, from people in the crowd to record it when Tony Khan comes out before the show and talks to the audience quickly, and he always says to them, please don't say any words like fuck, shit, or so, because we're on national television. You can say that on a pay-per-view, but not on TV, because we're live. So I think, it might have been started by Austin Gunn, maybe.
Isn't everything? Then there was a point in the match where Lance Archer didn't go for the pin. Obviously, foolish on his part in kayfabe. But I mean, that's what I bought into about this match, is that this wasn't about one of them winning. It was just about hurting each other, and that's how they should have booked it with these two guys, I think, because that's them two all over. Eddie Kingston cheated to get the win. I was surprised by this result, honestly. I thought Archer was going to go over. I think there's a couple of surprise results for me this time. Yeah. What did you guys say? I mean, I like it, and I like that it's not over. But we said that about Kingston Pac, didn't we? At the end of the match, we said this doesn't look over, and we haven't really heard anything about that since. And Pac seems to have moved on a little bit. So, I think AEW does have a problem with putting full stops on their storylines. But I mean, I hope this isn't over, and because I like longer rivalries, and this one has the legs. Do you know what I mean? And maybe it could lead to a triple threat with Pac after Pac's done this little bit with Mox and whatnot. And now, what do you guys think of the finish, the result, the potential for future feuding?
I'm fine with it, but again, I'm not sure. It's like you say, the AEW thing of knowing when they end and when they begin and what they mean is like, that seems to be going somewhere. But is it? I don't know. I hope it is. But, yeah.
I mean, they could go a lot more violent than that. Do you know what I mean? So something like this, inevitably, they usually end in very violent confrontations. So maybe at Revolution, big fight.
Yeah, and also let's see how the lumberjack match then next week. That's what they announced.
Exactly, there's a lumberjack match.
So that's some spoiler we can directly pull out here, because now what you also said is that we now know they will keep on telling this story at least for a bit. I'm really looking forward to the match next week. I can also tell that right now, because there was way more potential in the match. I didn't like the finish, but I know in which direction it's going. So I'm just like, okay, good. That's just the storytelling wise why they're doing this finish. I don't like these finishes. And also, you and me, we were always watching together. We also, we noted, Tony Khan or whoever books the match or booked this match or whatever has a sweet spot for braced knuckles or something, or the ring or so. That happens a lot in these false finishes. So let's see if they have a clean finish next week.
Oh, for sure. Right. There are quite a lot of those dirty finishes, dusty finishes maybe.
That took us on to a promo from Jon Moxley after this match, where he kind of summed up the kind of confusion, and I don't mean confusion in a bad way, but the confusion in the main storyline at the moment, with all the crossing over rivalries with the Lucha Brothers, Pac, Eddie Kingston, and obviously Young Bucks, Good Brothers, Kenny, etc. He also mentioned how he likes to have sex in the morning, which I'm sure Renee Young or Renee Paquette, whatever she's called now, will appreciate that detail about their personal lives being put on national TV. Good promo for you, Hugh. Are you a fan of Jon Moxley's promos?
I am a fan of Jon Moxley's promos. Yeah, I like him. I think he's always been good at them, really. I wasn't really watching WWE around the time of the Shield, but I understand most of that stuff was good as well.
He was always the top.
But, yeah, he was the guy, and he had the face and the voice, and he's kind of scary, and I don't know. Yeah, I thought it was good. I do think there are a lot of times on AEW when they cut to a promo, and it's not a bad promo, but I don't really care. And this is I'm not like, oh, it sucks, but I'm like, who cares? And with Moxley, it's never really like that. I tend to find them kind of intense and believable.
Oh, okay, good. No, I quite liked how. I think one of the criticisms Moxley does is he just plays like generic crazy guy. Do you know what I mean? But this one was quite coherent, and I feel like in recent weeks he's on the promos he's kind of been toning them down a little bit to make a bit more sense. And
I also like that he, like you said, he sort of summed up everyone's confusion because he was just like,
exactly.
Well, those guys don't like me, but now I'm working with them. But they used to hate me, but now they don't like me. But like,
kind of selling himself as an everyman, isn't he? He was always said he was the champion for the people, and that Kenny screwed over the people by what he did with Callis, and by providing
he's kind of the ace. He's kind of the Tanahashi. Yeah. He's not in any of the groups. He's just the guy who's tough and he's the champ. Even though he's not the champ, he's been the champ the longest, that kind of thing.
Later on in the show, we'll talk about this later, but Adam Page, they kind of made out like we have to be in a group. Do you know what I mean? They're like, he's a free agent in terms of groups. He's unaffiliated, and it's like, well, it's kind of turning into like I say, like a kind of New Japan system where everyone's in a group. And Moxley, no one ever questions the fact that Moxley isn't in a group because he's Moxley. You know what I mean? Like you say, he's like the people are his group. I think that was further reinforced with this promo. Anything to add, Patrick?
Yeah, just read that we might know now why Moxley is put into that triangle feud, let's say triangle feud. Of course, it makes sense with Kenny, the crossover, but would have been cooler if he had a championship rematch with Kenny or so. But Penta seems to have visa problems in the US. This is why he cannot come over. And this also might clarify that there was a guy dressed as Penta who got beat up back like 2 weeks ago.
You caught it. Yeah. You said on the podcast. Yeah, you saw it with someone other than Penta.
Mm-hmm. So that confirms it, I think.
Do you not think there might be a Mox Kenny rematch at Revolution?
Yeah, maybe they're stretching it now a little bit too. Then I was more thinking, maybe on TV or not, but then now it makes sense like this. I think it's okay. Might be also a thing if there might be an interruption by the Good Brothers or Don Callis or anyone again that he might have backup from the Death Triangle at one point or so. Interesting to see how they will wrap the story now up or just make the storylines go over. And yeah, I'm looking forward to that. It's interesting.
Or, thinking outside the box, Sami Callihan. No? That's my call. That's my...
Sami Callihan would be legit if he comes in. It would be really, really good. Yeah.
Because Mox losing clean again, he didn't lose clean before, do you know what I mean? But I can't see him losing clean full stop, even on a rematch. So, and... I don't know if Kenny's going to do the cheat to win thing again and then go to that well again. So I could definitely see Sami Callihan being involved. And I feel like that's just... I mean, he signed a new Impact contract now, Sami. He was on the... in December, I think it ran out, but I think he's renewed. So, I mean, they can use him, so why not? Do you know what I mean? And they've got unfinished business. I think they've had a little bit of threatening messages on Twitter, but kind of not enough that it would give it away, so... But enough there that there's material to build on. So yeah, it's got to happen at some point, and I'm excited for it when it does. We then had, we go from one good promo to, I mean, I don't know, I don't know where to start with this. Sting and Darby Allin in an abandoned warehouse, taking it to the streets a lot, and okay, so right, I'm just going to launch into my opinions on this one because Sting says let's get on a first name basis, as if anyone doesn't know who Sting is. Do you know what I mean? As if anyone's not on a first name basis with Sting in the wrestling industry.
He's also only got one name.
Yeah. Yeah, he hasn't got a surname.
Steve.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's not like yeah.
Yeah, you can't get a first name basis when you've only got one name. It's not a first name anymore. Very
My full name is Stephen Sting.
You're paying for yourself already here. He also said when we're, I don't know if this was a slip, like he botched this, but he said when we're married at Revolution.
Yeah, he totally did.
The word married.
He totally did.
He did. Yeah, he did. And then they started just breaking already broken windows in the shabby warehouse. Like Darby just smashed the window with a skateboard. Like, oh, you're hard.
Yeah,
you know?
And then Sting tries to destroy like 2 or 3, and then Hugh got a real good point. Will you say it again? What they do when they leave?
Yeah, they leave, and they leave the TNT title behind. So are they going or what?
Well recorded.
and the another thing, it just like everything about this was just bizarre and satirical and like Bizarro World promo. Sting kept saying, "I'm not a hoodlum. Darby's a hoodlum." He kept saying hoodlum over and over, and he said, "I'm not a hoodlum. Darby's a hoodlum." And then,
to be honest, as a non-mother tongue English person, I didn't know what that was at the first time. I didn't understand what they were talking about, and then
like
I had to look
gangster?
it up. Yeah, I had to look it up.
More like
then.
a street gangster or like a football casual or something, innit? Something like that.
A ruffian. But yeah, and then Sting like just accepts he's a hoodlum partway through the promo. Goes, I am a hoodlum. Like that. It's like you just said you weren't. It's like this whole promo is just it's bizarre. Is this whole?
I am good.
Like
I don't know. I'm gonna say with Sting, like to be honest, he's not a bad promo. But you don't go. Do you know what I remember about Sting? The promos.
Yeah.
You remember like the physical presence, you know, all the theatrics. But you also remember like in the ring that people are scared of him even when they're bigger than him. So this idea that him and Darby have to talk to camera, they don't. They could do other stuff.
Well,
like it's good they're doing stuff with
yeah.
Sting, but like they don't have to do a talk to camera. They could do all kinds of shit, and they're just doing this. Because Darby used to do those like promos where he didn't say anything and he had that weird artistic cinema.
I was just about to say that, yeah.
Yeah,
throwing himself off bridges
Sting
and stuff.
fits perfectly into that.
Yeah, they exactly. Like, I think they're getting these complaints from people. We've mentioned, not just us, but people in the industry have mentioned things about Sting just coming out and doing nothing week after week. And people are saying, do something with Sting. And they're like, okay, we'll do something with Sting and put a mic in his hand and have him cut a promo. It's like, that's not what we're saying. Like, it's not either or. These aren't the only two options. Like you say, he'd fit perfectly into Darby's vignettes. Do you know what I mean? Darby could film some of these things with Sting. Do you know? And it would be badass.
Also, like,
to add to yep, go on.
I guess, sorry, like it's like they have sort of done stuff with Sting where it's like they're like, okay, he didn't say anything, so this time we make him say something. It's like, no, just next time the lights go out, don't play his music and have him appear in the ring and hit someone with a bat or anything, or just scare them off by being there. It's just they go, okay, first he's going to come in to that music and scare people. He does that twice. Now he's going to talk. It's like, well, there are other things. Like, like Sting has got a fairly good repertoire of just weird stuff he can do. You know?
Exactly. Yeah. Anything to add to that, Patrick?
Nothing to add. It's weird. It just doesn't fit into the whole general picture. Also, as you pointed it out, or you also said that Darby is way more capable of shooting these things in a nicer way. Yeah. And what they said was just a little cringy also, that the 61-year-old white man has to say that we're street gangsters. Yeah.
We're hoodlums.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was just not great.
Just like breaking windows, like what are you trying to prove? Who are you trying to be? Just I don't know.
I sometimes
the
think
68 generation is coming back.
Right. But I sometimes think they'd benefit AEW from doing the NJPW thing of the press conference.
Yeah,
you know, so it's not actually really a promo. It's like a press con. I don't know, or at least trying it out.
Tony Khan press conferences. I mean, they're not kayfabe, but it would be. Yeah, you know, they can do it.
I just remember like there's a lot of people who can't really talk in NJPW, but they do okay in that press conference environment.
Well, yeah, because they just.
You know.
I mean, that's perfect for people who can't do promos because they just.
Right.
Have to, it's like a footballer, you know, with no charisma. You know, that you're there to hear them talk about. It's a sports presentation in New Japan. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, they don't need to have mic skills to just be yourself. Do you know what I mean? And then it comes across as authentic because you know you're being as real as possible without it actually being real. You know, But yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Because I've seen Zack Sabre Jr. do well on his own in those press conferences. And, that's a guy, and I love Zack Sabre Jr., that's a guy who they gave a second language mouthpiece to.
Do you remember when he flipped out over Boris Johnson's election and just kept slapping the chair into the floor? Yeah.
I just remember one when he literally just picked up the beer after winning a title and went, "This is warm." And then he left. He's like, "Get me cold beer next time." And that was it.
So, that brought us on to Chris Jericho and MJF versus the Varsity Blondes. Let's come to Patrick first. Thoughts on this match?
Very unspectacular match. Was more like a storyline driven match in the end. What comes out. Nice side note is that Chris Jericho now does a perfect line salt after botching it last week.
I think that's why he had it on the end, you know what I mean? After the Judas effect. The people on commentary, I don't think the people on commentary or JR specifically really picked up on that. He's like, he's just showing off. He doesn't, after, and just tried to sell it as him being arrogant. It's like, no, there's a reason he's doing this.
Yeah, right. So that's, And also you could see afterwards with, who got hit, I think, Griff Garrison got hit from the Judas effect. No, it wasn't. It was Brian Pillman. No, sorry, it was Brian Pillman Jr. He also posted, I think, today or yesterday, he posted a picture of him. He got really, really nicely bruised in his face. So that was a legit one. The match was fine, I guess. I like that the Varsity Blondes get a lot Dynamite screen time.
They're really good.
They're super good. Really,
very good.
That's really good. I really like that. And it had to be this ending, like the end of the match was, I have to say, for some kind of reason. But also, it's interesting to see what they now are doing with MJF and Sami. That Sami still, later on in the show, I think we'll come to that again, because they had a little backstage segment. But it's interesting how they're building up the storyline, and that was what the whole match was about.
We will come to that, but just to remind people of the storyline-driven aspects of this match, as Patrick said. MJF kind of ripped on Griff Garrison a little at the beginning of the match, then Griff boots him at some point, and then Sami starts cheering for the Varsity Blondes at ringside, which was a nice touch. You don't see that a lot. I think the sky's the limit for the Varsity Blondes, for sure. I'll tell you what they remind me of. They remind me of, I don't want to say old school, because I'm thinking 90s style wrestlers who were kind of a jack of all trades kind of wrestlers. They didn't necessarily do insane flippy shit, but they high flew a little and they technical wrestled a little. People like Shawn Michaels,
Oh yeah. I was gonna say kind of Too Cool. It sounds weird, but if you watch Too Cool matches, they did kind of standard wrestling, and then they had a leg drop or something. They kind of mixed it up.
Yeah, exactly. Specifically, Brian Christopher, I'd say. He was an underrated wrestler, man. R.I.P. He was, because he got that technical wrestling from wrestling with his dad, which he, I think Jerry Lawler still shows up in those things. He shouldn't.
No, he shouldn't, but he does.
What's it called? Memphis wrestling, those kind of people who, those Attitude Era, those good wrestlers from the Attitude Era and the arse end of the new generation, do you know what I mean? That did that kind of... I think Jungle Boy kind of fits into that as well. Do you know what I mean? He's not purely a technical wrestler, he's not purely a high flyer, he does a little bit of high flying, does a little bit
I
of
would say Pentagon does as well. I mean, he's more of a lucha star, but the difference between Pentagon and Phoenix is Phoenix is mostly a high flyer. Yeah. Pentagon's kind of more mixed, I would say, for example.
Well, Pentagon is your favourite wrestler, isn't he?
Pentagon is my favourite, yeah.
Oh. We couldn't remember... Patrick couldn't remember his name one week.
Yeah, I listen, I know.
It's coming. The backlash is coming.
It's fine, he changes it all the time.
Penta El Cero M. Yeah, I would agree. Okay match. I've got 3.5 out of 5 down, which I don't know if that's generous. Maybe it's a 3, but I only managed to write 2 lines on it, which says it all really. As Patrick said, uneventful. Then we had Pac promo. Honestly, this was again really good. His promos, they seem to do a lot of work on in terms of cinematography, because they had him showing up on a TV screen in this kind of dark room and stuff. I honestly think if Americans could understand Pac, they would put him up there with the greats at the moment in terms of mic skills.
Oh,
this is a British person,
yeah.
a British person who does understand his acting. He's flawless on the mic, isn't it? I can't speak highly enough of his mic skills.
Yeah, it's who is the Scouse guy in Progress who came in the Burberry jacket?
Zach Gibson.
Yeah, like him and Pac
Amazing.
are both people who've got this really strong accent but really good mic skills.
That's the cruel irony of it, isn't it? I honestly, I can't think, and you know, there's been bigger ones, and there's maybe MJF. Other than MJF, I can't really think of someone with better mic skills than Zach Gibson in the last decade, and yet, where is he now? And it's because he's a Scouser, because no one can understand what the fuck he's saying.
Is he still with Progress, or is he on NXT UK?
I think he's NXT UK, but I don't think they do anything with him.
No, of course not.
Scene! Like, he always did that. But yeah, thoughts on Pac's promo? He, I'm trying to think of the content of it now, other than it was really good. It was calling out. It was a very British promo. Let him be very British. I think he said Billy Big Bollocks at some point. It was essentially further in that. It wasn't a very long one, but further in that story. Thoughts, Patrick?
Yeah, I like that very, very much. The cinematography, as you said, was very good. I like the, you called it in English, tube TV that he had there. And
yeah.
I like this style because first thing I saw...
What's
or when
tube
I
TV
saw
in German, then, if you said it in English?
Röhrenfernseher.
Lügenfernseher?
Röhrenfernseher.
Röhrenfernseher.
Ridiculous. Yeah, it's the same. A tube is a Röhre. And Fernseher is TV, television. So.
Love it.
Yeah, love it.
It's a majestic language.
You sound quite good.
Well, I mean, we're the same family of languages, isn't it? English and German.
Yeah,
it's the same. Yeah.
English is ancestral language.
Germanic.
But yeah, first thing I thought when I saw that, I was like, is he watching WWE on that TV? Is he showing that? Because first thing comes to mind when you see a ring, a tube TV, you're like, back to the 90s, WCW or WWE. And I like that style. Also what he was saying, although I don't understand it always 100%, I have to admit, because of his accent. But I can definitely agree with you guys that he has like very strong promo skills, and I mostly understand everything he says, but sometimes I just, acoustically also, I don't understand it. Like really, I don't hear the word he's saying, so but it's fine. That's just the way it is with accents.
There's a television personality called Cheryl Cole, who's from the exact same region. Well, yeah, same region as Pac. Newcastle, South Shields kind of area. And she was on American X Factor for all of about 2 weeks before she got fired because the public couldn't understand her over there. So at least Pac's got more to. He doesn't have to rely just on his mic skills, but you know, it's a shame that more people don't appreciate them. But he has his wrestling, which he is very, very good at. Then we went from a very good promo to Shaq Cody furthering of this abomination. Shaq kept saying "you little punk" over and over in his response. It's like falling back on very odd again. It's just like the Sting and Darby stuff. When AEW does stuff bad, they don't necessarily do it like car crash corny bad. It's not corny. That's WWE's problem. It's weird, you know. When WWE do a bad segment, it's corny. When AEW do a bad segment, it's bizarre. Do you know what I mean? They're two very different types of bad, and this was more of that for me. I mean, how many times do we have to hear Cody get cheered as well for impregnating his wife? Because
right.
And again, yeah.
Good boy.
Yeah, you did it.
You're doing what everyone in a normal relationship is doing, except you know that's the other thing.
How many times that pregnancy has been clapped now, and
I just like, and I don't really care. Like, it's nice you're having a kid, but
yeah,
I don't care. Like, I don't know. And also, you know, we brought up this Shaq thing. I just fuck off with this Shaq thing.
I think they're just. I think why it's weird. I think why it's weird is they're just trying to sell the unsellable. Do you know what I mean? They're trying to make this. They've got Shaq. They've got this name on board. He can't come to Dynamite every week, but they want to capitalize on his name. So now they've got to build a storyline around it, and they're doing their best, but you just can't. Do you know what I mean? You can't make something out of nothing. He's not there providing. You know, they've got to give him a mouthpiece, and they've given him Jade Cargill, and now Red Velvet's got involved, and Cody Rhodes is looking super white in the storyline. Do you know what I mean? He's standing out like a sore thumb with his bleached blonde hair and his kind
Since
of
last week, I'm not allowed
transparent
to comment on
skin.
That, so
No, it's just Brandy Rose's racial identity you're not allowed to comment
I said
on.
something
And she's
about
not involved in the
Jericho.
program
I
right
said
now.
something
So
to you about Red Velvet corresponding to Brandy Rhodes' racial profile. So I don't say it.
where's my buzzer? Patrick has a list of things he's not allowed to talk about.
I just think though, like, I don't know, like we had the weird Snoop Dogg thing, which was like a crossover thing, and now they've got Shaq's still a thing, and I'm like, I don't think anyone's tuning in because of Shaq. Maybe they are, but I really doubt it because he's barely shown up and it's been rubbish. And in wrestling, I mean, he's done stuff in wrestling before, but it's not like you go, you know what, I really loved that Shaq Big Show match. That's not. I'm not really having a go at them for doing it, but it's like I don't know what this is. Do people think the best thing about wrestling is when celebrities come in? Not many wrestling fans do. Maybe AEW is kind of at that point where it has to try and do a cross appeal like WWE used to do, but I don't know. I think it just looks bad. It looks cheesy. I don't know.
Well, we think
bad.
This is probably the benefit of JR. We've said before is that JR is not the announcer he used to be. Excalibur is by far the best announcer on that desk. Tony Schiavone's decent. His skills haven't really slipped. JR's have. But when people tune in who watch in the Attitude Era, like lapsed fans, and hear JR, like that's his value. Do you know what I mean? And that's why it's good having him opening the show as well.
That's
JR.
true.
Do you know what I mean? And that's how he kind of, that's his worth to the show. And I suppose that's what they're doing with Shaq. And it's like, I'm okay with them doing it as long as they balance it with good wrestling. For the most part, they do. But just the amount of segments dedicated to it is like, And I will say something in WWE's defense. If you're gonna do it, that's how you do it. Put him in a match with another big man because he's a big guy. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Rather than introducing, like pushing to this. They've got this big star. They want to use this big star. They want to capitalize on him, and they're pushing people like Jade Cargill and Red Velvet up to this kind of main event level to try and sell this rivalry, and it doesn't really work, I don't think, because you're asking us to care about Red Velvet. You've hardly ever shown her on television, at least on Dynamite. Do you know what I mean? I don't think Dark really classes as television because it's on the internet. So yeah, just odd all over. Anything to add to that, Patrick?
No, not really. You all said it very well. The only thing I can say about this cross promo thing, the only thing I would be interested and invested in would have been the Mike Tyson versus Chris Jericho match, because mostly off Chris Jericho, because Chris Jericho likes to take stiff punches. So there could have been real good story with that. But
again, no full stop on that. No full stop on that rivalry. Just left it open-ended, and that's one of the downsides of AEW.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people would have tuned in rather for Mike Tyson versus Chris Jericho than Shaq versus Cody, like who outside of the wrestling bubble, really no one knows really Cody except because Jericho is known outside of the wrestling bubble more, and and Shaq is, of course, he's a big name in American sports in general, but I think Tyson is bigger. And
there's not even going to be a definitive answer between the Shaq and Cody rivalry. I mean, for one thing, why are they feuding? I really don't understand what's at the core of that rivalry. But that aside,
it's like Jade Cargill brought him up. That's why they're feuding.
Jade Cargill mentioned him while cutting a promo on Cody, and now Cody and Shaq hate each other. It doesn't make sense to me. And there's not even going to be a definitive answer because this is why it's a tag match. This is why they didn't just make it a singles match when Brandy was out of commission because of her pregnancy. Because Cody and Shaq, neither of them are going to eat the pin. Jade Cargill's probably going to pin Red Velvet, to be honest with you. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it might be the other way around. I don't really see it being the other way around because they're trying to push Jade Cargill to the moon. But yeah, and then that's a way to give Shaq the win without having Cody being pinned by a non-wrestler. Do you know what I mean? Is how I see it going down anyway. One good thing from this segment, which came from an unexpected source, which was JR, a direct quote from JR, she said bitch ass, that means she's serious. When Jade Cargill came out and was like, I'm going to kick your bitch ass, and JR's like, she said bitch ass, that means she's serious. Love that quote. I'll put that on a t-shirt.
I'm pretty sure that also just means JR's like, I don't know what this is either.
Yeah. JR, he does take the piss out of the product.
Yeah, I remember as well, not just that, like, I remember once he just clearly forgot he was still on mic,
He used to do that every week. He used to do that every week. It was hilarious, and I
just remember someone doing an entrance, and he went, "He should be a heel."
Do you remember when
you're speaking out of kayfabe, JR, but you're still on mic? Do
you remember when they had a weigh-in and they brought out ring girls in these like little skimpy outfits?
Yeah.
And JR was still on mic. He was like, "Oh Jesus Christ!" like that.
That was yeah. Same with the. I think he knew that he was on mic when he said that. Is that a wardrobe malfunction?
Yeah,
I hope
he
so.
knew he was on for that.
but that was also so inappropriate. But yeah.
He's had his blue chews. That led us into Hangman Page versus Ryan Nemeth, you all know as the brother of Nick Nemeth, a.k.a. Dolph Ziggler. It was Ryan Nemeth's debut. I've got his name right.
Is that who he is?
Yeah,
I did not know that.
Oh, you didn't? Well, there you go.
I was like, it's just one of those blokes that's going to get beaten up, basically.
Ryan Nemeth could be one of the Hollywood Blondes if they need a trios partner. Do you know what I mean? If they bring in a trios title, don't you think it fit right in? I think he showed up Hangman a little bit in this match. It wasn't. I didn't find it a particularly exciting match. I think I gave it a pretty low score. But yeah, he was doing a lot of the kind of headstand thing, and Hangman was just hitting a lot of clotheslines. And I figured, it ended well for Hangman. But yeah, I think he kind of got out wrestled a little bit. Thoughts on the match, Hugh? Who was the best person to come to who didn't know who Ryan Nemeth was before the match?
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I thought the match was fine. It seemed to not really be about the match that much, but they did do a decent thing. I'll be honest, I remember going, well, that's all right, and then it finished. I didn't really think much about it, so I wouldn't say it was a bad match. But like you're saying, you thought Nemeth came out better. I'm not saying you're wrong. I just literally can't remember it that well. So
well, there wasn't. Yeah. To be honest, it wasn't really much of a wrestling match. To be honest,
no, it's one of the AEW version of a squash match. That's not quite a squash match. And it's that kind of thing, I think. But it was fine. I think it was more about Hangman doing some stuff on.
Well, the Hardy stuff was interesting. We'll come to that in a bit. But Patrick, what did you make of the match itself?
Same as you guys. Nothing special. Yeah. Really. I also have to say, Ryan Nemeth was not that great in the ring. I don't know. I don't
think he did. I don't think he did a great deal and showcased his skills a great deal. But I do think what he did, he kind of, like what I said with Hangman just going for clotheslines repeatedly, he did. With what little he did outshine Hangman, and that's coming off the back of a year where we gave Hangman our Wrestler of the Year. It's not good optics for us, But no, Hangman's good, but it was kind of these glimpses of this old Hangman, because I don't know if it was circa about 2017 or something like that. He had a year where he won like the most improved award from everybody, because he was not great. He was the weak link in the Elite and the Bullet Club. He couldn't hang, and then he got a lot better. And I remember it was around Strong Style Evolved. I think he had a match with Jay White, and Jay White used to be the same. He used to be, very out of his depth, especially in a company with wrestling quality as high as New Japan. And then he had a match with Hangman, and I always made the joke where, Hangman's passed on that magic to him, where he wasn't great and now he's great. But little bit of glimpses of that old Hangman in this match. But it's just a squash match. He's not bringing out the big guns, so I don't think there's any cause for concern. I think, as Hugh said, the main thing is Matt Hardy coming out afterwards, which I found quite intriguing. I don't know about you.
Yeah, the same. I was first like, where's this heading now? Why is he out there now? So it gets interesting. I like the approach, what he later, like, I think we can talk about that directly, because when Tony Schiavone, that's the running joke that I cannot pronounce his name properly. I always mix that up. But that he also then came out afterwards. What are you doing here, Matt? What's going on here? So I like the approach of it now. Like I said last week, and then I can really adapt to that again, or like add to that. That now it seems they are building something bigger with Matt Hardy being this big money Matt again, building his stable, having the heels with him, or building the heels with him, trying to get Hangman in, like with this kind of way. He tries to do it now, swerve him and tell him, you can just come into my locker. I see you're just dressing yourself up in the hallway. What's going on? Just come with me. You're a good guy. I saw everyone let you fall down. I'm just gonna protect you. It's interesting, definitely, but I think on the other hand also it's a quite quick turn of events after he after he refused to join the Dark Order.
Very much.
Yeah.
So.
And then next week, directly next offer from a group. And as you guys also said before, it's a lot with groups or so. And when you're not in a group, you have to be a special character to be on your own, like Moxley. And then I don't know if they want to put much emphasis on this, or like what kind of emphasis they want to put on Hangman himself, that they want to push him into a group, or maybe they're doing it now with several groups, trying to see like, he doesn't fit in anywhere, he's just a lonesome cowboy or so, they against a new gimmick, whatever. So it's interesting to see where this will develop to.
You know, I don't like Matt Hardy as the manager of Private Party. I love the idea of Matt Hardy as the manager of Hangman. This kind of big money Southern guy managing a guy with a cowboy gimmick. It's so 80s. I love that. Do you know what I mean? It's so like old school. Like did Jeff Jarrett manage like a tag team or something at some point? I know it was Jim Cornette and Midnight Express, were they called? Or I'm showing my
Midnight Express
ignorance here. Or the one that Bradshaw was in before the APA as well. That wasn't that one, was it? No. But yeah,
no,
you know what I mean.
Very far away.
But that was another thing.
It might as well have been called the Two Cowboys.
Him and Bart Gunn, you know, the Smoking Guns.
Smoking Guns.
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah, stuff like that. I mean, obviously he's a singles wrestler, but it adds on to what I was saying the other week. I'd like to see him as this kind of like oil prospector, Matt Hardy, like, you know, this southern billionaire kind of thing. He's got the house for it. Do you know what I mean? He's got that Hardy compound. He could really kind of sell himself as, you know, I don't know. It's just I like it. I really like it. Thoughts on this whole where this seems to be going, Q?
I mean, I'm not sure. Like I've been fine with like the Matt Hardy Private Party thing. It does feel like a strange out of nowhere thing, but like I've been okay with it. But I kind of get this idea. Hey, I'm Matt, and I'm gonna be your cowboy. I don't know. Yeah,
your cowboy.
I'm gonna be your
Brokeback Mountain shit
prospector.
going down here.
Yeah, I'm gonna be like the prospector character. I'm gonna be your whatever. But I'm also a bit like, it feels like they have a plan for like a Hangman, and every time it happens, I'm just trying to guess what it is instead of just watching. I think I just need to stop doing that. I think a little bit and just let it happen.
Yeah.
Because like clearly they like Hangman, you know, and we all like Hangman. He's great. But like I keep saying, are they making him champ? What are they doing? What are they doing with Hangman? I just do a lot of that when he's around.
Good job you're not putting yourself in a position where you'll overanalyze it, like coming on a podcast to dissect it.
Yeah. Right. I have noticed though, like with Big Money Matt, it's been great how they've gradually made him look more legitimately rich over time. So he starts off, he's like, hey, yeah, I'm the money guy behind Private Party, and here I am in a vest.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't on board with it at first. I could get on board with it. They go in a nice direction with it. Like
I mean, Matt can sell a lot of this stuff even when it's bad, to his credit.
Yeah.
But I hope it'll be good because it's got good people involved. So we'll see.
Good legs on it.
There's a lot of I don't know. I don't want to be too down on the product, but there is a lot of kind of, I don't know, identity crisis with certain of the talent.
Like
Hangman, but I also think it's part of Hangman's thing.
I think that's part of Hangman's storyline. But I do get what you mean about.
I like that whole build-up with the Dark Order. I'm like, that's probably paying off. I just overanalyze it, so I'm just like, what's going to happen? I just don't get it. But you know, the people involved are all good, so it'll probably be decent. You know, like. This is my main takeaway.
Then that took us to Dax Harwood versus Jungle Boy. This opened with a promo, and you always know it's a big fight feel when they give a promo as people coming out, like a video package. Favourite quote from that was Dax Harwood saying, "My family are going to be shackled to a dinosaur." Like, I just love how even the serious people, like, just refer to him as a dinosaur. Like, they really question it. Like, okay, fair enough. I mean, it's fun. It's a lot of fun. The match itself, Patrick, thoughts?
great, just great. Jungle Boy was able to show off why he is he's the real future of the company, or one of big futures of the company. Yeah, I don't really want to go into detail too much. I just in general really to say that the pace was very good, even though Jungle Boy is a little taller than Dax Harwood. He's of course not as muscular or massive as he is, but that's a huge advantage on one end of Dax, but also on Cash, that they are selling also very, very good and very believable, even to guys who are like a little more skinny or smaller than them or so. This makes Jungle Boy in this case look even way better than he is already. And yeah, that goes a really big point to Dax Harwood for building that. And the match finish, I have to say, was a little weird with that he was tapping out. I like that actually, but it was weird. I didn't see a tap out coming there.
They're trying to sell this as a new submission, which, again, they say he's done it before. I don't remember it, but
probably on Dark.
Probably on Dark. Again, that's one of their biggest problems, is assuming everyone watches everything. They assume everyone watches Dark, and they assume everyone watches BTE. It's just not the case. But I have some thoughts about this match. I'll come to Hugh first, though.
Thought it was really good. It felt like quite a fast submission at the end, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like he just got him in it,
he didn't
and
have
then
the hold on long enough.
Yeah, like it felt like he just got him in it, and then he was tapping out pretty quickly. Which it's like it's just a little thing, but it's like they're trying to say, look, it hurts, I guess. But I was just a bit like, and I also think they're just trying to put Jungle Boy over as a single stop,
really
which is
trying to
good.
put Jungle Boy over, aren't they? I think
and
Dax
like
is doing his
I
part
love Jungle Boy.
Fast tap.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, and I think I really like Jungle Boy, so I'm glad of that. But I did feel like it wasn't a lot of tension on is he going to tap or what. It was he held out a bit tap. There's a very short time for Luchasaurus to keep Tully and the other one, Cash. That's the one. He was called Dash.
Dash and Cax.
It was. But I thought the match, I couldn't really fault it. I couldn't think of anything bad with it really, other than that.
Yeah. I'm going to continue the tradition of both of my co-hosts enjoying it and then me shitting all over. No, I'm not going to shit all over it. I'm going to... Okay, so this is... When I complain about these matches, I always seem to give them high ratings, though. Like, I gave this a 4 out of 5. So you
watched it more. So you had more things to pick out of it.
I always take notes every week. But I'm the host, Hugh. That's what I got to do.
That's not what I mean. I mean, it means if it's a good match, maybe you're paying more attention to it. So you go, oh, that was a great match.
I see what you mean.
Like...
But maybe I'm hypercritical. No, because to me it was only a great match for the final third. For the first two, I thought it was forgettable. A lot of rest holds, and I don't know, I have to disagree that it was a fast pace. I think for the first two thirds of the match, it wasn't a fast pace. It really picked up enough to make me give it a 4 out of 5 in the final third. And I was very impressed. So I'll give you the positives. I was very impressed, one, with Dax's stamina, because this wasn't a short match, based on the rest of the card. He was still, he picking Jungle Boy up, really smooth lines. He hit a really nice power bomb where he kind of came clean off the ground. All the suplexes he's hitting. He's a technical wrestler. That's what he does. But just the stamina, not to show any weakness, he wasn't faltering. And they were doing all these kind of pin reversals where they're kind of, rolling all around the ring. And Dax specifically looked very good and very clean and very lots of energy still towards the end of the match. And Jungle Boy, for me, his strength was in his selling. Took a very nasty looking like DDT or something like that at some point, or he was just he's got that down. He's got a lot of strengths. We can't say enough good things about Jungle Boy. I suppose, other than the fact that for me the bulk of the excitement happened in just the final third of the match, my complaints are largely outside of the match, out of the control of the wrestlers. And this is where my complaint about who's the gun? Austin Gunn comes in. I love the idea of people singing this song when the music's playing and he's coming out, like they do with Shinsuke Nakamura, like they do with Bobby Roode, like they do with Chris Jericho. I I don't like the idea of repeatedly doing it. He did this so much. He started a chant about a dozen times. I was counting. It was about 12 times throughout the match. And it's like, this is going to get really old really quick. Like, and it's not an easy sound to do, because it's like there's a lot of notes there, like note changes.
Yeah. And I also think, sorry, I'll just jump in there. I think this will be with a crowd way better, like just instead of like 20 people ringside who are doing this, when you have a real crowd, and this can like evolve within the crowd also. You guys know it, you're British, you know that from other like bigger wrestling events, or from football or so, like football, you know. Does. Yeah, right. So this will evolve more with the crowd, and I can see it also the same way. I see it the same, that it was a little overdone by Austin Gunn.
So overdone. He did it too much. I was like, I'm really looking forward to this. Don't kill it, Austin. Do you know what I mean? I know he's excitable. Could have pumped the brakes a little bit here, and I do think I'd rather it be like Chris Jericho's and be something they do during the intro and when he wins, because I think too much for a good thing. Do you know what I mean? It kind of takes away from the impact of him getting a massive out of nowhere win, and someone on commentary, like, imagine him winning the world title or something, and JR, and this is when they give JR his moment because it's JR's voice. Do you know what I mean? By God, he's done it, the childhood dream kind of thing, and then the crowd singing along with that, and it's like, I don't want to take away from that eventual moment by you overdoing this. Do you know what I mean? During matches. But yeah, I mean, it does just go to show how important a theme song is, because it's good stuff. Do you know what I mean? I will also say, Dax the Axe, that they were driving this home a lot, that he's called Dax the Axe. They kept saying it. They said it like 7 or 8 times on commentary.
Yeah, he has it on his jacket, a D and then an X behind it.
They haven't mentioned
but like,
this much
he's just
before.
Dax, isn't he? Is he Dax the Axe? I don't know.
Maybe they just got it from there. But I noticed that like a few months ago that he has a D and then an X behind it.
Yeah, that is his symbol. I remember that a bit.
Well, do you guys know Dax the Axe already is a wrestler, like a fairly famous indie wrestler?
Oh, really?
Yeah, MLW. He's been on MLW. He's had like 5 or 6 matches on MLW.
Okay. Well, okay.
So he's probably got something to say about it. Like,
so another cease and desist from the indie scene then against them, or
I don't think. You know, this is the thing. They shouldn't punch down. Do you know what I mean? It's the other way around, because like before, it was
only the internet marks will punish them, not a real judge.
I just think that sounds stupid as well. I don't know.
It does sound stupid, yeah.
Like if he was called like Hatchet Dax Harwood or something, I'd be fine.
That's
with it.
boss. That's badass.
Yeah, but like Dax the Axe is like, what is this? Is this a character from Reboot in the 90s or something?
Hit him up on Twitter. Hatchet Dax Harwood. I fucking love that.
Not
he
bad,
needs to
right?
change his jacket.
Tweet him. I don't have Twitter. Just say, hey, call yourself Hatchet Dax.
That's boss. Yeah, no, yeah, I don't think it really worked that way around. I mean, before, it was the whole thing with the Too Sweet. It's WWE, a bigger company, telling people from New Japan, it's not much smaller, but a smaller company. You know, they're still a big player, they're still a major league, but a smaller company, they're telling them to stop doing this. Do you know what I mean?
Didn't the ones who were only at NJPW, they kept doing it with no problem, right?
Yeah.
It was like,
well, it's a different country. Like, that would be more trouble than it's worth for WWE, you know, to pursue legal.
I think Tama Tonga
they stopped doing
kept
Suck
doing
It, I think.
Like Tama Tonga kept doing it with his brother and with like Kenny, but it was like the Bucks just would never do it again or something like that. I can't remember exactly, but yeah.
It was nice though. After the match, there was a Jungle Boy was actually a surprise win for me as well. I thought maybe Dax Harwood might have that because he's the I don't know how you word it. The more he's got, the more kind of seems to have the more value, if that makes sense, more than Jungle Boy. But obviously now it's very clear now they're making a big push for Jungle Boy. But this is one of the ones you would have expected to go to Dax Harwood, I would have thought. But then in hindsight, with the guys chained up, like, you know, it kind of does make sense. But I thought maybe they'd pull something screwy like they actually did after the match, and help Dax win. So it is a big win for Jungle Boy. I said it's kind of a night of unexpected wins because I didn't expect, in our first match, I didn't expect Eddie Kingston to win. I didn't expect Jungle Boy to win. And it was also nice to see Tully Blanchard getting physically involved after the match, like with the spike pile driver. I loved that. He did better than Snoop Dogg. Next up, we had a promo from Team Taz. I have to say this was a step up from Darby Allin and Sting. I don't know if it was much of a step up, but it was a step up nonetheless. They attacked the merch guys. It was pretty much the gist of this skit. It looked pretty brutal with how they threw him into the. They kind of lawn darted him into the truck.
Yeah. I genuinely said to Patrick, I think, when this was on, I was like, literally, they've got to the point where Team Taz's thing is that they're upset that no one likes them for being dicks. Like, so then they're just dicks to people. It's great.
Funny you say. It's funny you say that because I wrote down very chav-like in the way they attack these guys, approach them and attack them.
Oh, for sure, man. Yeah.
It was. I mean, I don't know.
It was like,
Patrick's
what's your problem? I haven't got a problem. Oh, so I'm a liar, am I, dickhead?
Yeah, what you're looking at there. Yeah, exactly. Their kind of approach and assault on these guys was very much how a chav would do it, but without a knifing. Do you know what I mean? With their mum's kind of kitchen knife. I kind of liked it. I'm not going to lie. I kind of liked this segment. What your thoughts were, Patrick?
First thing I thought when they came on and everything, I heard just Jack's voice, no, not them again. So that's the first thing I thought. But in the end, I'll also go with you. I really liked that because the setup was quite stupid. Somewhere in the middle of nowhere, this merchandise table, as if somebody would come in COVID now.
During COVID, go out to the truck behind Daly's place, like in a dark parking lot. Yo, you got any of them Sting shirts?
Yeah, right. Now that you're saying it like this. And there were only Darby Allin and Sting shirts on that merchandise table, so it was a little too obvious. Yeah, but I liked that it was so hard hitting,
like indie wrestlers.
Yeah, but I liked it was so hard hitting. They were like throwing them really hard against the truck and through the table. That was legit. That was really nice and something more than just staying there like four of them and running away if somebody comes out to music after everything went dark. So something else is what I like now.
They seem more legit as this whole thing of like Darby Allin Sting saying like, let's take it to the streets, and they just look so uncool and white when they do it. Do you know what I mean? But when Taz
terminology from 2005 is gay, but unfortunately that's homophobic now. But
yes, I'll say that now.
We know what it means.
We need a buzzer for you now. No, with Team Taz, it was. They very much felt more legitimate. Like, yeah, these guys might assault somebody on the street. You know what I mean? Like, they felt more kind of street. Do you know what I mean? It felt legit. It felt, like I said, it felt chav-like, which is about as close to, the British streets as you get. But for sure.
I will say though, like with Team Taz, for a long time I've been like, I don't really get this. That did kind of. I went, okay, now I get it. They're just dicks. Yeah, and that's fine. That's cool.
I've likened them before to like a boxer's walkout crew when they come out and some of them are in suits and some of them are in hoodies and stuff. Do you know what I mean? That's kind of what it feels like to me. Just these kind of like
kind of guys who go, hey, you don't know where we're from. We're from the streets. You go, all right, I get it.
Guys who self-describe as alpha males. Do you know what I mean? That's kind of their gimmick,
They listen to the Joe Rogan podcast, but they don't really. They just listen to the adverts for different types of supplements and then turn it off.
Joe Rogan is their surrogate father. Well, no, I suppose Taz is their surrogate father, and with Hook is his actual father.
Yeah, actually, they don't even listen to the Joe Rogan podcast. They listen to the Human Podcast Machine, and they just need
Taz. He's their father figure. They were all desperately missing during childhood.
Wait, I reckon Taz probably does have his own supplement.
I'm sure he does.
Brooklyn Protein or something like that.
This led into Dr. Britt Baker DMD versus Shanna. Very nice to see Shanna back on Dynamite. I haven't seen her in a while, I don't think. Patrick, thoughts on this match?
It was also it was very good to see her again. I like her wrestling. She's from Portugal, right? She's the one which was.
She's from Portugal, then by way of France, and now she's wrestling at the stage.
Yeah, they bill her from France, but she is
okay,
Portuguese.
Good. But she's from Portugal, yeah.
She now has no connection to France now, so they should probably stop doing that. They build her from France this time, but she's from Portugal. She now lives in the States. Before she lived in France, and she was fighting out of France. But maybe it's temporary with COVID, but I think she's moved over there now, similar to how Hikaru Shida.
So I remember she was from Portugal, but anyway, like she has a really nice fighting style like that. In general,
she looked great.
Yeah, and
nice sequences.
Yeah, nice sequences. The pace was good. In general, I didn't like the finish of the match or like the build up around the match because it was just showcase match for Britt Baker or so, I would say, because Thunder Rosa comes out afterwards just to make a save, just to build that up. There was no real thing behind it. It was nothing spectacular. Just nice to see Shanna again, but I think you can add something to it because he's the language specialist. We talked about also during the match about the gear, because she has clearly this Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z. This is what we were talking about, gear. But you can tell you about it.
Well, I can't really. I spent a while trying to work out what the kanji was, and it's just Go, as in Goku. So it's not the turtle and it's not the god which he used to have, but that means that is the one from Chopsticks. It's Kwai from Kwaita. But yeah, like I thought that match was good though. Really decent match.
Really decent match, I thought.
Me and Patrick always go and pee when the women's matches are on, but it was a good match.
They've been really quality. So far this year, I mean, it's not saying much. There's been 4 episodes of Dynamite, but so far this year, the quality of women's match has really stepped up. I think maybe it's kind of their New Year's resolution was like, okay, come on, guys, this is shit. Like, let's, new year, new division.
That was the first time in a long time that I did go pee during a women's match, or the first time
missed some good stuff
this year. No, I was just.
He only
was just
for like 2 minutes. To be fair, he didn't go for a long time.
No, it was just like 10-20 seconds or so gone. But I did that, or like when we started watching Dynamite, I did that after a while because I think we talked about that before. The problem they had is it was always the second match, and the second match was always a random women's match, and it wasn't out of disrespect. I did go, but there was no storyline or so in it. If I missed something, I missed a nice move maybe, but I didn't miss any storyline in it, and then I was like, yeah, okay. So usually also I go pee when there's a match with less importance to storyline or so, it's usually the women's matches that's the problem with it.
I do also think to a certain extent that like the fact that the NWA ones have been better has made them kind of go, all right, let's just try and do stuff like, I don't know, because Tay Conti's match with who was it? With the one of the NWA ladies.
Serena Deeb.
Yeah, that's the one. Was so good.
Won our match of the night award.
Yeah, and it was such a good match, and like, all the women in AEW can do matches like that pretty much. It's just, it doesn't always come out that way. I don't know. I think they've just tried to put a bit more kick into it because they've had really good women's matches that weren't AEW women's matches, and they've maybe gone, maybe ours should at least try and be as good as the guest promotion match.
Yeah. Only match so far this year, or so far in the podcast, that wasn't the main event that we've named match of the night, so it has that going for it. No, I thought this was the best paced match so far of the night. Obviously one outpaced it by a country mile later on, but this was a really, really well paced match, like Patrick said. I had some really nice sequences in. Really like this. I think you can look at Britt Baker and Shanna, maybe to a lesser extent Shanna, because Britt's obviously the star, and she actually did some nice wrestling in this. Like, I know that was her kind of, weak spot. She was a bit sports entertainment-y, but Shanna did a sequence, and then later on Britt did a nice sequence as well. You can look at Britt Baker and Shanna, Layla Hirsch, the NWA girls, Serena Deeb. I think Thunder Rosa's pretty much a staple of AEW now. Serena Deeb, Thunder Rosa, Tay Conti, Anna Jay, and say, we're kind of building a women's division here. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
That we can, rather than having Hikaru Shida versus, or some Joshi wrestler versus Nyla Rose for the umpteenth time. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. That didn't really
I love all those Joshi wrestlers and stuff, but they're either Shida and they stick around, or you see them twice a year. But like a lot of those Joshi wrestlers, I love them, but they're basically Stardom wrestlers who show up at AEW. I don't know.
Well, a lot of them got stuck in Japan because of COVID.
Yeah, and it's fair enough. But like, it's definitely been an improvement. And I love Layla Hirsch. I think she's fantastic. People like that coming in are just great. I
love Layla Hirsch. I just push her to the moon.
And just imagine Taya Valkyrie now also maybe coming in, having a big star with a lot of experience also coming on top of these mostly young and more unexperienced TV women there. Would be real good asset for the women's division. And now, like you also guys said, now they need to go for it, build the storylines. There's a super good women's division now. I'm really curious to see if she also I'm gonna tell it later. No, we're gonna come to that later. So
Taya Valkyrie there's not often that non-WWE stars show up on real stars show up on them. There's not a lot of them that you could say free agents that haven't worked for WWE. Taya Valkyrie hasn't worked for WWE, has she, at any point?
Not as far as I know, but maybe.
No. Oh, someone's pulling it up. Thank you, Patrick. But yeah, I mean, if she has, it wasn't in a memorable role, you know. Kind of like Lance Archer. Lance Archer wrestled for WWE. I don't really classify him as a WWE guy. I classify him as a New Japan guy. But it's not often that.
Yeah.
It's not
Matt Jackson was on one episode of SmackDown, but he's not a WWE guy. It's that kind of
exactly. It's not often that these big stars who haven't wrestled for WWE come up. Jeff Cobb's still out there. I think Jeff Cobb will probably end up in WWE at some point, to be honest. I think he said once that his kid wants it, so he'd take a job there.
That
might have been Samoa Joe, actually. I might be mixing up my Stocky Islanders.
Yeah. Because he's not even Jeff Cobb's not even Samoan, right? He's from Guam. But yeah,
that's why I said Islanders. I'm
yeah, I know. But like, he is kind of a Vince wet dream, though. Jeff Cobb, I think.
Yeah.
You know.
Jeff Cobb's one of them. He's floating about doing his thing. Taya Valkyrie's another. You could probably count them on one hand, to be honest. The guys that would be legit stars coming into AEW, like already built stars that haven't wrestled for WWE.
She has for 2 months. She was signed October 2011 for a developmental contract, and then end of 2011 she already returned to the indie scene in Canada. So there was
basically did a Kenny Omega.
I mean, if I wouldn't count Lance Archer, I definitely wouldn't count Taya Valkyrie as a WWE girl. Do you know what I mean? So, but yeah, I love this match. I arguably my match of the night. So I know, there was the final third of the Jungle Boy match, which probably put these on a par for me. Whereas because that, the end of that match was better for sure. But yeah, I just like the consistency in this match. I thought it was a well-paced match. Even during the break, they had the thing with Reba doing Shanna's makeup as Britt pushed her face into the post. That was brilliant. Just lots of content. Was never boring. Is that a running joke now, or is Tony Schiavone literally just keep forgetting it? Because he keeps calling her Rebel. He called her Rebel like 3 times during the match, and Excalibur corrected him. But is that just like a thing?
I thought it was the way around. I thought now her thing said Rebel, not Reba.
No, it says Reba.
It
says Reba. I made sure to write it.
No, I think it's a running gag, I think, now.
Yeah.
Even when we, as viewers, mix it up, I think that's some running gag in there that she's like,
I call her Rebel.
Cool, let's play with it.
I don't know. I've got her on Instagram. She calls herself Rebel. Like, she's been Rebel most of her career. I guess she is Reba in AEW and everything. Yeah. But like, I call her Rebel too. So,
yeah.
I don't know.
Britt obviously finished it with the, what does she call that? Like the mandible claw she uses, the lockjaw. That's it. I can't wait to see her confront Abaddon. I said that like a surname, like Marsha Abaddon. No, Abaddon. I can't wait to see her have a match with her, and then like whether she's like hesitant about putting her hand in her mouth or something. I think they could do a really cool spot with, you know what I mean? And maybe that loses the match or something. But when she got like the blood pouring out of the messed up mouth and stuff like that, it would be. They could do some. I'd love to see a program with them.
She uses tweezers instead or something.
Yeah, I don't particularly
got a pair of tweezers.
I don't particularly massively rate Abaddon's in ring work, and I think she has to find herself a little bit. I think some of the spots she was doing was a bit derivative of other monsters, monster wrestlers. But yeah, I love her look. She won our Gimmick of the Year, and yeah, I'd love to see a program between her and someone with the kind of star power of Britt Baker. It would be a lot of fun. Just talk about the end of the match quickly. I really popped when Thunder Rosa came out. She feels like a star for sure.
Yeah, same.
It's another thing of
I love Thunder
NWA
Rosa
coming up. Yeah, the music again helps. Like with Jungle Boy, music means a lot. I think in wrestling, like it's like she's arrived. Do you know what I mean? That takes us on to, there was a MJF and Sami Guevara promo. He just plays a dickhead so well, doesn't he? MJF, like he does that thing where like he was trying to be. It's so convincing. Like if you've ever talked to someone who's like pretending to be on your side, and then you call them out, and then they make out like they gaslight you and make out like you're being paranoid. It's spot on. It's like he's not even acting when he did that with Sami, and Sami called him out on like his bullshit, and then MJF got like really dark and serious and intimidating and said, sure this is how you want to play it? Thoughts on this segment, Patrick, and obviously the direction the storyline seems to be going?
Yeah, I think I said it before. I just don't remember. But this build up, this is what I said after the the tag team match. This build up is really interesting. Maybe they're bringing it to a Revolution match between both of them. Might be interesting to see, but it's so well played by MJF. You could like just from his facial expression, from his acting, you could see that he was lying to him and telling him like, "Are you trying to make me look bad now? Are you looking through me? Are you seeing the plan that I'm following up?" And I also like Sami. He's seen as the young guy in the group, which he obviously is. But like, yeah, he's the young guy. He's just a little too much energy. He is interpreting too much into maybe things, or so he doesn't see it like we are the experienced guys. We don't see it like that. But he is on the same level as MJF, also age-wise, and you can see that he's like, dude, I know what you're doing. I know you. I know how we're working. Like this generation is working or so. So yeah, it's interesting to see where this will end up. Hopefully in a match, but we'll see. It's a good way they're going now.
What were your thoughts on the segment, Hugh? And again, the kind of general direction of the storyline.
I think it's good. I think it's the right thing to do with putting. You're gonna put MJF in the inner circle. Obviously, it's not going to be smooth or whatever.
No, there has to be.
That's the point, really.
You've got to have someone leave eventually, be the first one as well, don't you? So
exactly. Yeah. I sort of sometimes think maybe this is them trying to make Sami into a face.
Oh, for sure.
A little bit. Because you got the MJF. Well, I mean, the Inner Circle still have this weird thing where they're not quite like the Dark Order, where they're basically faces who pretend to be heels. They are definitely heels, but they're pretty loved. Or at least their entrance is a huge deal to the people watching.
But I've noticed, even when they had crowds, people would AEW fans, if you remember them, full fans, they were very good at cheering the faces and booing the heels. And one thing I always noticed
they don't hijack.
They'd sing along with Judas and then they'd boo the Inner Circle, do you know what I mean? And then they'd cheer Chris Jericho's opponent. And that's something I loved.
For sure, yeah. I do think MJF talking... If you put MJF and Sami together, like, Sami's not a bad talker, but MJF does kind of make everyone else look like a bad talker, apart from someone like Jericho, or the guys who've been doing it for years. So Sami's doing fine, and MJF kind of just has this unnatural talent for it. But that's kind of unfair, really, because MJF sort of, he's pretty uniquely talented in this area for his age. So
I think it's Zach Gibson in there with him.
Yeah. or the bastard.
I'd love a face-off between him and either of them, just because of I just imagine MJF selling, not understanding what they're saying, and it's hilarious.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. For example, like when Sami kind of like snapped on MJF, and then MJF kind of went quiet and was like, "Oh, I see. That's what you want to do." It was a lot more believable the way MJF did it.
Sinister.
And Sami kind of had this thing. I was like, "Oh, I'm coming in tough," and it was sort of. It just doesn't. You put one guy next to the other, and it's just MJF's really good at that stuff. He's not as good at flips, so it's just
that's your metric for judging good wrestlers. You and Jack both.
Yeah, but like he is, they're both good wrestlers, but like definitely MJF is just better than most people at that kind of stuff, at the character work, I think, which is probably why they hired him. Yeah.
But he can't do a corkscrew 450, for shame. Then we had previews for next week's matches. We'll come to that later, as we always do at the end of the show. But one thing I do want to call on quick is they advertised, obviously, the returning Riho. Riho's coming back to AEW, and Riho's in a match with Serena Deeb. But one thing I want to pick up on is I really feel like they need to clarify this tournament they've got coming on, the women's tournament, because they said, and I quote, on the US side of the bracket, and then they said that, and then they said it's a match between Serena Deeb and Riho. What does that mean? Like, is Riho on the US side of the bracket, or do they just mean like in the first round there'll be?
Or are some of the matches happening in Japan?
But the
Maybe.
way
or something.
I don't know, because like Riho is now currently in Japan and hasn't been in US, I think, for a while. Or maybe what they are doing, like there's always an American against, or like a US-based wrestler against a Japanese-based wrestler against each other, but then the graphics would be misleading. So I don't know what this is.
Yeah, the graphics make out like there's everyone on one side will be American, and the commentary backs it up, saying the US side of the bracket, which suggests that Riho is in the US side of the bracket, despite it being apparently a US versus Japan, which they haven't even really acknowledged, other than saying the US side of the bracket, that it's a US versus Japan thing. And like Hugh just said, are some of the matches taking place in Japan? And like you'd think if there was a cross, because they've got very friendly relations with Stardom, because they let Riho, Yuka Sakazaki, maybe Emma Sakura, I'm not sure, who I think were all contracted AEW wrestlers, they let them wrestle in Stardom to keep jobs while they were stuck in Japan during COVID.
And B. Priestley as well. They let B. Priestley go mostly for the thing that they want her to go rather to Stardom than to AEW, because she can't get into the country but can easier get to Japan, so they just let her go, which was a nice move, to be honest.
Well, yeah, some clarification definitely needed with this, what's going on with this tournament.
Yeah,
for sure.
I have no idea as well. Like I was honestly, I was like, all right, so they're just having matches between Americans and Japanese, which is what we thought. But are they? What's going on? I don't know.
But then why is Riho on quote unquote the US side of the bracket? It's very odd. Then we went on to the main event, Good Brothers and the Young Bucks versus the Dark Order. It started with a promo, led into the Young Bucks entrance. It's nice to have the Bullet Club back together, or these parts of the Bullet Club. Also, notice they are saying Bullet Club now, whereas before they just kept saying the band's back together and avoiding saying Bullet Club. And I don't know whether they've now got permission, but that is something very interesting, that they can now very confidently say Bullet Club. It's not just the talent as well. I think people on commentary are saying it, so that's interesting, and it does leave me very hopeful for some crossover stuff with New Japan in the future. But I'm just waiting for Jay White to show up, man. I'm just waiting for Jay White to show up. I'll lose it.
I would love them to be able to cross over with NJPW now. Like, I don't know.
That's the big one.
I love NJPW, so like them being able to work there again is great as far as I'm concerned. You know.
And now it would also make sense for NJPW to be on Dynamite, because they will have a new TV deal in the US now and in the UK, and just showing up there and saying, okay, we'll be back on, I don't know, Access TV or whatever, very small channel, but we'll be back. So just to let everyone know where they are, showcase a little talent, and then, then just go for it.
I mean, Tony Khan's vision is AAA, NJPW, Impact, AEW, as many promotions as possible all crossing over. That's his vision. So even if he is the party that will get less out of it, he's going to do it, because he's just a mark and we love him for it. Do you know what I mean? But NJPW, it would be such a smart business move for them to, swallow their pride would be one thing, to come on AEW. Because like they got big-ish through word of mouth before, do you know what I mean, with the Bullet Club, and people saying, have you seen this Bullet Club? And people would see these Bullet Club shirts showing up on Raw and SmackDown. So what's the Bullet Club? And it was this really kind of, the Bullet Club were the reason NJPW got big in the States, the Kenny Omega iteration of the Bullet Club. But, I don't know, maybe the arse end of AJ Styles as well, the reason it kind of got big in the States. But now they don't have the benefit of the Bullet. Well, they do. Obviously, they've still got the Bullet Club. It's an NJPW faction. They don't have the benefit of the elite, should I say? They immediately get access to 800,000 people in one night. Do you know what I mean? If they come on, and AEW, and I think a lot of AEW viewers, the ones who haven't seen New Japan, are very aware of New Japan. I mean, they get it mentioned to them all the time. They get Kota Ibushi's win mentioned to them. They get Hiromu Tanahashi congratulated Jericho on 25 years or whatever it's been, 30 years. It would be very smart on their part to kickstart it with an appearance on the kind of second biggest promotion in, the country, in the world, whatever, for sure. Thoughts on the match itself? Let's go to... I come to Patrick first a lot. Let's go to you, Hugh.
Thank you very much. What an honor.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I was coming to you first, but yeah, go for it, Patrick.
No, honestly, Patrick, go first. I've literally forgotten which match we're talking about. I was thinking about the NJPW thing so much. I was like, wait, which match?
No, we're talking about the Bucks and the Good Brothers versus the Dark Order. That's what we're talking about.
That's the one that makes the most sense because it's literally the last match, and that's what.
Yeah, right. But just taking the bridge, building the bridge from NJPW to this match, which is easy because it's an 8-man tag match, which is typical for NJPW, and they held it. But before going into the match, I'd like also to add before. We're not sure what they're doing with this thing, if the Bucks are allowed to 2 Sweet or so. So I read this week also they filed a trademark, AEW, for the expression 2 Sweet. I don't know if they can put a trademark.
That's Billy Big Bollocks, as Pac would say.
Yeah, I don't know if they can put a trademark on the hand sign itself. I think there must be a trademark on that. I really don't know.
They've put the hand sign on the shirt, so if they don't have a trademark yet,
okay, then
just,
Yeah, I don't know, you really, but we'll see that. That's really nice. You just made it in the cam. It was nice storytelling. So starting with the promo, definitely feeling some heat between the Bucks and the Good Brothers. What happened last week, and there's
good
that.
Stuff.
Yeah, that was real good stuff. Starting with that, then Kenny coming in and Don Callis, and then no, we have to go out now. Your music is hitting. Just go out. So this was unfinished business in there. They harmonized very good as a team in between. Not during the match. That was fine. That was completely good. I also liked the Dark Order, especially, I have to say it again, John Silver and Alex Reynolds, the moves from them, it doesn't matter who they're against, if they're against the big guys, the small guys, and then coming to this point, John Silver standing in front of Doc Gallows and just looking up on him, just really 1.5 heads shorter, not just one, and 1.5.
He called him out small as well. He said, I want him.
Yeah, that was so cool. It was great. So yeah, John Silver. That's the thing. Also talking about crowds before, John Silver would be so over with the crowds now. I'm really curious to see what will happen when the big crowds are back and John Silver, if he can keep his momentum up until then. I hope so. What will happen then? Fine match. It was, like I said before, typical NJPW 8-man tag match. It was quite quick at some points, a real high pace in some moves, and also
it felt more Ring of Honor Bucks than New Japan Bucks to me. I mean, obviously, with it being an 8-man tag match, was quite New Japan, but they wrestled the style they used to in Ring of Honor, where they just used to go out and just do the pace was insane. You know what I mean? They didn't do that as much in New Japan, but because obviously a lot of the time they were tagging with people with slower pace, like Bad Luck Fale and stuff like that, But
that's completely it. That's also what I see there. This the Ring of Honor Bucks.
Fat fuck Fale.
Tune into Western Bias for more hot, comedy like this.
I don't call him that to his face because he'd batter me, but
he would definitely all of us in one slap. But yeah, I like that match a lot. It was just a fun match. That's what I can say about it. It was just fun. There were a lot of moves. It was the pacing was high. The Dark Order was doing good. I also liked Evil Uno and Stu Grayson. They were also good in the match.
Stu Grayson, I'm offended. He was the last one you mentioned of the 4. He was incredible.
He was really good.
He was so
great.
Good.
He was great, really. And I have to say, I'm just reading now the Meltzer driver in the end. I just cannot remember the ending, to be honest, of the match. Like I said, it was just a fun match. It was fast-paced.
Remember Stu Grayson hitting a set-out facebuster that was fucking insane.
Wow. He had
a segment where he was flipping all over the place, and then he was up on the ropes and he did a frog splash. And it's like this dude. I mean, I know I put Evil Uno and then Stu Grayson as my most improved for the year, but I think I got the order wrong because the Dark Order, if you will, because Stu Grayson blew me away, man, and Alex Reynolds as well. John Silver has definitely stood out as the guy in that tag team thus far, but Alex Reynolds really kind of stepped it up for me this week. Not that he wasn't good before. I mean, they're as you say, their tag moves and the way they tagged with Hangman as well, the way they can add in a third person, which we saw them do with Hangman and we saw them do tonight, how well they gel with others. Great stuff. But Alex Reynolds as an individual performance, I saw more from him tonight, and just fantastic stuff from the Dark Order.
Yeah, I really liked the match as well. I thought it was great. I don't know, no one just no one felt like dead weight. No one felt like they weren't doing much. Everyone had good stuff. Like the Dark Order did like a really good kind of showing of what they are and how they work, which was cool. I just felt like they also sold this kind of weird tension between the Bucks and the Good Brothers really well. Like in the ring, like there's this kind of thing where they're like, oh no, we're on the same side. We actually think the same way. But also, what's going on? I thought that was great. One thing I really remember from this match, which I mentioned to Patrick at the time, someone bounced off the ropes and he pulled out the legs of I think it was John Silver, and JR said he should be ejected.
Yeah.
And I just said to Patrick, he's not their manager. He's part of that team.
Yeah.
He's not managing
if he gets
a three-man
ejected,
team.
they all get disqualified.
Yeah. I was like, and then Evil Uno did it, and he went, oh yeah, Evil Uno did it to, I think to Matt, or maybe it was to Doc. I can't remember who was in the ring. I just remembered that, and I was like, does JR think it's 2 3-man teams with 2 managers when it's a 4-on-4 match? but like, you know, he realised quickly his mistake, I think, and adapted. But it was just, it was a good match. Like, there's a lot of talent in that ring. It's quite weird to have like the Young Bucks be the old guard in a match, though. Yeah, that's kind of what it was. It was like a young team of like up and comers taking on sort of older people.
I want to come back to something you said. A really good point where you said there's no dead weight, which sums it up really. There was no dead weight in this match, and I think why that is so obviously true was that it was just the pace was so high. It was just organised chaos. Do you know what I mean in this match? But no one missed their spot. Everyone was on their mark all the time. There was nothing seemed janky or botched. And one thing I really liked was that they tried to go for that triple power bomb on the apron, and then it didn't work. And then they went for it again later on and executed it. You don't see that enough. Like you don't see people failing moves enough, and then later in the match, like actually hitting it, especially like big spots like that. So I was a fan of that. As I say, just no weak link, as you say, no dead weight. For sure, my match of the night, I give it a 4.5.
Yeah, like there's just so much talent in the ring, and it's just great. And like I say, it was 4 young guys taking on. I mean, they're not really old guys, but 4 more experienced guys. It just was good. Most of it was good. There was one point of contention between me and Patrick, though, which maybe you can settle, Tom.
Yep.
Which is, I think the TNA tag title belts look like shit, and Patrick likes them.
I like them. They look cool. Yeah.
I don't know where the TNA tag titles are. Probably Impact. Probably on who was Christopher Daniels and AJ Styles Wolves. I'm trying to think of who was the most decorated tag team with those titles. No,
the Impact titles. I just think they look shite. Like I hate them for some reason.
I like them.
I do love that they just kind of walk around wearing them. They don't do any. I mean, when they entered, they pretended it was their dick.
Gallows pretended it was his dick. Yeah.
Yeah, but like generally speaking, they just show up with them around their waist, so you remember who they are. That's cool. They treat them well.
I love how Carl Anderson put his hands under like he was supporting Gallows' massive dick, as he swung it. Nice 4-way super kick to finish off the match, and yeah, it was good stuff. I was a big fan of just the whole match. Matt Jackson got on the mic after the match, suggested that if they win the tag battle royale at Beach Bash, we got that right? Beach Brawl, Beach Bash.
I think it's Bash, yeah.
Bash. They could.
Beach Break.
Beach Break. It's neither.
Not a very wisely chosen name.
What? So. That's just what a holiday's called.
Yeah.
They might as well call it Weekend Getaway.
But yeah, they suggested, because if they win the match, they get to. First things first. I love that the champion's been included in the match. It reminds me of the champion being included in the G1 at New Japan. I love that because then it's really an elite match or an elite competition. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, it's like I would kind of wish they did that with the Royal Rumble, and I think they did once, maybe have the champion as part of it. I can't remember. Well, I think they had it for the title, and that might have been why the champion was part of it. But they suggested that. Well, Matt suggested that they could face the Good Brothers, that they might be the ones they pick. I'm not sure whether that will come to fruition. I feel like that might be a little tease that will happen further down the line, and there'll be some kind of spanner in the works before Revolution. I don't know about you guys.
I'm not sure, but I do think that's what they're aiming for, or at least that's.
Oh, eventually, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not going to not do that, are they? But
I'm wondering if there's going to be. I don't know what the nature of the Impact relationship, but obviously people can go to both shows. I'm wondering if they are just going to say, hey, whatever, the Young Bucks are going to Nashville for 3 months to be Impact champions. That, I think, is cool in a way, but I don't know if that's what they're going to do. And the Good Brothers are going to come in for us. And, like, I'll be fine with it. I love the Good Brothers. So, like, but I'm not sure what the actual deal is, you know.
Of course, COVID's always a thing when traveling between states as well.
Yeah.
But yeah,
true.
Yeah. So well, the idea I had, I also spoke with you about it yesterday. Then, what if the Good Brothers are losing the titles to Private Party, and then the Good Brothers are winning titles from the Bucks, so that we have like this mixed up situation. That would be interesting if they are doing it. I don't believe they will do it, but it would be very interesting if this would happen. That you have like champions from the opposing shows or promotions having them, and then an invasion angle or bigger invasion angle happening or so. That would be nice if they would be teasing it like this, like slowly building up. That would be a really interesting approach.
It's very promising, and it's also interesting to think if Taya Valkyrie does sign with AEW, they've written her off TV on Impact by having her go to jail. So I don't know how that's going to pan out with if she just shows back up in another company. How are they going to sell that? Don't know. Interested to see.
To be honest, that does bring me on to a slight tangent I was bringing up earlier where we talked about how they assume everyone watches Dark.
Yeah.
I think maybe Dark should be its own universe.
Oh, good point. DTE was, and then they tried branching it over and like, it doesn't work.
Yeah, exactly. Like NXT was always its own universe, pretty much, until quite recently. NXT was its own thing, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Like, and then they went, oh, this NXT wrestler went over there, and no one really worried about whatever canon. No one was that bothered. So I don't know. It feels like maybe treating Dark as a separate show would work. Like, but that's just what I would do, and I don't run a company, so maybe I'm wrong. But
well, it was like the Dark Order were until recently, they were two completely different teams on BTE and two completely different gimmicks on BTE and the main show. They were a serious heel team on the main show. So, and they did the right thing by bringing that over from Dark for sure. But, like, do you know what I mean? Like you said, they can do shows where it's its own universe, and Dark should be its own universe. So then Rey Fenix came down and interrupted, and I can't remember exactly who he was beaten down because he came in and there was, a big melee, but he was attacking somebody and he's being held up in the move, and it's some great camera work that when he came down, it kind of revealed Jon Moxley behind him, who had also come down to the ring to kind of even the score a bit. And then Kenny Omega appears behind Jon Moxley, and I love that he didn't get the jump on him, that Jon Moxley, it's kind of like Cowboys in who draws first kind of thing, and like sometimes you get it and sometimes you don't with the reflex even though Kenny had the jump. I love that it's not always just like someone attacking from behind. It kind of gets stale. I love that sometimes the person in the ring will actually react in time, because that never used to happen
also,
in WWE.
This is just like a minor thing, but because they did Jon Moxley outside to camera, I assumed he recorded that on like Sunday.
Yeah.
And he wasn't there. And then he appears to save Rey Fenix wearing the same gear from that. Just that little bit. It's like Al Snow always says that he considers kayfabe to be the finish that you put on the edge of the product to keep it shiny. And that little thing of me just assuming he wasn't there, and it's like, no, he showed up in the same gear. Maybe they did do that on Sunday, but like he was like, I'm gonna wear the same shit, so they think, oh fuck, you thought I wasn't around, but I'm here.
That's
and
a great take.
But if you know Mox, you know that he wears the same shit like every day for a week or two, and
that's
really
true,
complaining about it, and he's even sleeping in his jeans.
It wasn't even like a standard Mox gear. It was like a green. It was good and everything. It was like a green hoodie or something. It's not that kind of thing he normally necessarily wears when he wrestles. It's like his casual gear or whatever, which they do. They always come into these to do the save, But just that little factor to me of me going, oh, Moxley's there. I didn't know Moxley was there. Fuck,
Well, it's a great take from you, and the thing is, I didn't consciously think Moxley isn't there, but maybe on some level subconsciously I did. Do you know what I mean? Because I popped very hard when Mox showed up. I thought it was good stuff. He can still get a reaction out of me.
Yeah, for sure.
And I really love to hate this new Kenny. Do you know what I mean? It's hard because Kenny Omega, the best in the world, he's fantastic.
I'm still in love with him. I'll be honest. I love how much of a dick he is.
So is Jack. But like, I'll just give you this advice: if you let yourself hate him, it's so good. It's such a ride. And he sold that. I don't know what it's called I forgot what it's called in AEW. The double underhook DDT. It's called something else in New Japan, but
Paradigm Shift.
He Paradigm Shift, thank you. Not the Death Rider as it's called in. I love that it's called two different things, by the way, depending on where it is. But he sold that like he died. It was fantastic.
Yeah, also adding to that when Kenny's let loose, like when he's this real dark and evil guy and everything. So actually, my girlfriend watched quite a lot of wrestling with me then, and now she did lose a little bit of interest in it, mostly because Kenny got a face, because she liked him when he was heel, when he was like this cleaner guy, and she watched it with me on NJPW, and she's in love with Pac. Yeah, and she's in love with Pac, but Pac is not so much there, so she's also not watching. But she said to me, like, is he back like this? I'm like, yeah, he's real dirty. She's like, okay, I have to watch again. So
he's a creeper. Shout out to Jenny, correct?
Yeah, it's Jenny.
Exactly.
Hi, Jenny.
There you go. Hi, Jenny.
Like the thing I was going to say with Mox as well is Mox's first rivalry was with Jericho, right? So it's not with Jericho, it's with like 5 guys.
Well, no, his first rivalry was with Kenny. I mean,
that's true, actually. Yeah.
He interrupted the.
He put him through that table, didn't he?
Yeah,
that glass table.
So technically, his first scuffle was with Chris Jericho, because he got in the ring and Jericho was like, "What are you doing here?" And which was great. It was a great line. And then he hit him with the paradigm shift, and then he went to hit it on Kenny, but Kenny reversed it, and they bundled out of the ring, and that was him daring not to get hit with his move was pretty much the catalyst for the rivalry.
But like, I guess like I just remember the whole time when he pretended he joined the Inner Circle. He got stabbed in the eye, all that stuff. The whole time, you didn't ever really go, "Oh, there's only one of Mox." You never really think that with someone like he's like Steve Austin. It was like, "Oh, DX has got all these guys," but you're like, "Yeah, Steve Austin's gonna win. Don't worry about it." Like Moxley has that, and they sold it really well. And so, like when he comes to save Phoenix from like 4 guys who hate him, you kind of really do think, "Yeah, well." That's good. Like, he is like Superman in that moment. You're like, oh, thank fuck, he's there. They've done that really, like specifically with Moxley. They've really sold this thing of it's like, he's the loner who can kill half of you.
That is the end of our show. Well, the end of our Dynamite recap. We have a little bit left. We're not leaving you hanging. Next week's preview, we have. Well, next week is Beach Break. Beach Break Night 1. We have Kip and Penelope Ford's wedding. We have Britt Baker versus Thunder Rosa. We have the Tag Team Battle Royal. And we have Kenny Omega, the Good Brothers versus Jon Moxley, Pac, and Rey Fenix. And we also have just added the Lumberjack match between Eddie Kingston and Lance Archer. Thoughts on that card? And also, is Serena Deeb versus Riho next week? Or is that the week after? I can't remember. That's next week as well. Okay, so add that on. Thoughts on that card, Patrick?
I'm very excited about it. Really looking forward to it. Except the wedding, I'm don't like that wedding. I think he will give his opinion on that because he likes the WWE weddings, but I just don't like it. The segment, but you like it or you don't like it?
I do. I love a good wedding in wrestling. A good wrestling.
I don't like it, but
it's a Patrick, it's a staple of our industry.
It's a tradition.
It's a tradition.
I hate
you can't
traditions.
break with tradition.
I just hate traditions. But also, let's see what they'll make out of it. It's also the setup right now, which is not cool with the whole Miro thing. So I'm just hoping 2 bigger things happening. One might be that the priest turns around and it's Orange Cassidy, or that Miro turns on Kip in that position or so. Like something like this
it's
must
too early
happen.
for him to turn.
Yeah, but something must happen, Like right now, it's just really stuck in a direction where like no one cares. Like really, no one cares what's happening there.
Maybe Miro will turn on him. Can you imagine Miro just smash?
Yeah, I meant Miro will turn on Kip.
Oh, I thought you said sorry.
That's what I meant.
I don't. Did you? You might have said Miro, and I might have just had a brain fart and heard you.
He did. I think he did say Miro. I'll be honest.
That was me.
Thank you.
There you go. Vindicated.
Yeah, that's my thoughts on that. I'm really looking forward to really all of the matches. Wrestling wise, especially on the Serena Deeb versus Rio match, and also wrestling wise on the Britt Baker versus what was her name, Thunder Rosa again, and storyline wise on the main event, which are probably the main event of the evening with the 6-man tag match.
For sure. Match you're looking forward to the most, Patrick?
6-man tag, I think. Just for the storyline. I'm really looking forward to the wrestling related matches also, but mostly the storyline thing, because I'm really interested now. What will Kenny maybe do? How will Kenny behave in that thing? And like I said also before, will the Death Triangle back up Jon Moxley a little more? Will there be like a little thing, flirty thing happening with them? They're like, oh, maybe I'm just gonna stick with these guys a little bit. So interesting to see what happens.
I love the crisscrossing of storylines for sure. Hugh, match you're looking forward to the most from next week's card?
It's a bit of a hard choice for me. I kind of look forward to the Tag Team Battle Royal.
Yeah.
Good. I like tag team wrestling.
They're always fun.
But at the same time, I do sometimes get a bit annoyed at like the Battle Royal concept sometimes. But I think this will be good. I can't think of anything bad. Thunder Rosa, Britt Baker. That's probably going to be good. You know.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you which one I'm not looking forward to at all is this fucking wedding.
You with Patrick. Patrick was under the impression you would be a fan because you're a fan of wrestling weddings.
Am I?
Well, you said you were.
Yeah, you said that to me yesterday. Sometimes I cannot see when you're talking irony or not. You're so British.
I think I probably was being sarcastic. I'm not really a fan of wrestling weddings. I'm not.
Okay, good.
Here I am. I've shown my hand that I am a fan of wrestling weddings, and
but no, I mean, to be fair, it's a pretty traditional part of the industry at this point.
Who doesn't? Billy and Chuck. And the homophobic crowd.
Elizabeth and Macho Man.
Elizabeth!
Okay,
will you marry me?
I have been long open about the fact that I fucking hate Kip Sabian, but to be fair, I'm pretty sure I hate Kip Sabian for the reasons I'm meant to hate him. You know, he's doing his job, right? To be fair to Kip Sabian, he is a good wrestler. He's got Miro with him, he's got Penelope Ford, the best friends, and Orange Cassidy. Everyone loves Orange Cassidy. Apart from Jim Cornette, who doesn't count. But
I don't think he even likes wrestling anymore. He's the Connor of the wrestling world. Connor's our friend. Connor doesn't like wrestling anymore, but he still just hangs around.
Genuinely, I think it's a pretty good card, but the wrestling wedding has to do a lot to win me over because I can be quite critical of it. So, but yeah, I think that tag team battle royal, that women's match, they're all looking like good matches. Oh yeah, and Moxley, Pac, and Phoenix. That's versus Kenny and the Good Brothers. That's going to be good. There's no way that's going to be bad. Unless someone gets injured early on or something.
Serena Deeb versus Riho for me, I think.
Oh yeah. I can't none of them are bad. None of them I look at and go, I'm not going to watch it really. So that's cool.
I'm excited to see Riho return. I'm never the biggest fan of the high striking Joshi style, to be honest. But I am excited to see her return, and I am excited to see what Serena Deeb can do with her, because Serena Deeb, we've said this before, we'll say it again, makes anyone look amazing. And that'll be a fantastic match.
And I think, I haven't seen Riho for a while. I do like her. I prefer Yuka Sakazawa. But
I know you do. The magical girl.
We can't always get what we want. It looks like it's going to be a good card. And, even if it's not, chances are it'll be Jack here instead of me to complain about it. So it's fine.
Here's hoping. Joking. No, you've been great. As always, I've forgotten to ask for our match of the night. So let's just rewind it. That's my best impression of a rewound sound. Patrick's nodding. He's impressed. It's not as good as my Macho Man Randy Savage.
Yeah, it was very good. Very good. Yeah. Also from a DJ standpoint, with the...
match of the night, Patrick.
For me, Jungle Boy versus Dex Harwood. My match of the night. There were a lot really good matches. Or not a lot. There were quite some good matches which you can choose from match of the night, some not. But this was for me because I'm a big Jungle Boy fan now. I like the direction they're going with him. You can clearly see it now. He is having his own theme. They invested money in having the rights to play it on air. They're putting him in the right direction. That's something you saw at least like in the latest when he was having his match against Jericho, what he is up to, and now you saw it again in the match. There was just also a great job by Dex, like I said before, and that's my match of the night. I give it 6.5 out of 5 stars. No, just kidding. 8 of 5 stars. I want to make a new range.
Hugh, your match of the night?
Same match, to be honest. sorry, what I'm gonna say is I love a bit of Dynamite, but there are some times when when Dynamite came along, I was like, I hope this is good enough to make me watch a weekly, and it is, which is good because I haven't watched any weekly shows for years until Dynamite. This Dynamite, I thought, pretty decent. Like I like most of the matches, but Jungle Boy, I love him. He's my Jungle Boy. I love him, and Dax Harwood, great wrestler. It was a bit silly, but the kind of idea of having Luchasaurus there to keep the other two in check was fun.
Didn't even talk about them cutting the horns off, did we? That was a nice touch, taking control.
Oh yeah, and they chain him up, they cut his horns off. They're trying to set up that, but then I'd give an honourable mention to what is it, the
main event,
the ladies match.
The ladies, the women's thing deserves it.
So if you had to say, hey, have a different one to Patrick, I'd be the one I gave it. But I don't have to have a different one to Patrick, and I have the same one as him. So
the main event for me, and I feel hard done by.
I mean, it was a top class main event, like we just said. To be fair,
based on what I know Jack's taste in wrestling to be, I would have won it. If Hugh wasn't here, you've come in and you've rattled the cages of democracy here.
You could put this to a lawyer's vote and point out that literally I said that the main event had no dead weight and no downtime, and then I gave a different match as my favourite match. But
you'll have to answer for your crimes in an appeal. Now, the group has spoken. Our match of the week was Dax Harwood versus Jungle Boy. Now, just before we go, we come on to our segment with our fantastic intro that we have none, and I just sing it, called Less Important Shows, where we talk about less important shows in the wrestling world. I think Patrick had something to say about something that happened on Raw or SmackDown. I can't remember that. I hadn't heard about. Patrick, please tell me.
Yeah, it was on Raw, and I only saw that from Raw, thanks to the Squared Circle. Another huge botch from Nia Jax. I'm not a picky guy on this. Picking on that all the time. But it was quite hard. You should watch it. I think you can also maybe find it on YouTube or so. 20-second clip. She has Dana Brooke up in I think in the powerbomb position, and then goes from the powerbomb position to the chokeslam position. I didn't know where this transition came from, and tries to chokeslam her, but didn't put the weight on the right spot, or just they didn't hold her when she does it with the right hand and left hand, then behind in her back or so, just slammed her with her right hand on her throat down to the ground, and she really hit with the back of her head really hard the mat, and it was definitely a concussion involved in there, and it was not the first concussion I think she caused in the last 12 months. So that's something they should look out for more a little bit. Funnily, Premier League today announced they have a concussion break on extra concussion substitutes, so even football is jumping on that train, but WWE should watch out for that talent, because this was not very good.
No, it's irresponsible that she's still in a job, I'm going to say, just because of how long she's been botched. I mean, give them a chance in order to improve, but she's an unsafe worker. She has been for years. You can't just criticize Goldberg and WCW for continuing to put Goldberg in things after, ending Bret Hart's career, but doing a lot of damage to a lot of people.
Ending a much more talented wrestler's career. Sorry, I love Bret Hart, so.
Yeah. And then give WWE a pass. She shouldn't be in a job. And I'm not just negging on WWE here. It's a genuine concern, because I'll criticize till the cows come home about stuff I didn't like on AEW, and I do. But no, it's not. It's not right. It's bad.
So one more thing I'd like to mention before we end. I just finished, before we start recording, the unrestricted AEW podcast with Amanda Huber.
I saw that.
The widow now of John Huber, really big also for you guys, but also for everyone's listening. Listen to that. That's really heartbreaking, the story, because she tells everything pretty much in detail, which is also gross at some point when she tells how they tried to keep him alive in the end. So I cannot repeat that, because I'm not good at the medical terms, especially in English. And that's very, very, very interesting to hear. Just give a listen to that. Don't listen to it when you're sad, because it might make you cry. So
Maybe some
Yeah,
people
if you're
need
sad,
that
you should listen to
cathartic.
the Western Bias podcast. You know.
Yeah, I think we've plugged you enough.
No, we haven't. It's at Western Bias Cast on Instagram. The link's in the bio. There you go.
Oh, sorry. Another thing, NBC is closing its sports channel where like everything like hockey or so whatever is on, and USA is belonging also to NBC, and now it looks like NBC is putting all their sports content on the USA network.
Yeah.
And since there's Wednesday hockey, like a big thing, they might move NXT, but also on the other, they might not move NXT because they don't want to lose viewers to AEW at the same point, so they have a product that is in competition directly with Raw or no, just Raw, not SmackDown. That's out of competition there. Yeah.
I've been seeing stuff about that, and I didn't really know what was going on. So thank you for putting that.
Yeah, just keep it on the radar.
Like,
for
I
us.
don't know. Yeah, I've heard stuff about it. I haven't been keeping up, so that's cool.
It has been very nice having you, Hugh, despite the incessant.
Despite
playing.
the complete lack of professionalism.
This has been W.A.N.K. I don't have a sign-off phrase yet. I need a sign-off phrase. I stole Kenny's. Should I just steal someone else's every week? Because I stole Kenny's goodbye and good night last week.
Yeah.
I should steal.
We can do the
wrestlers?
Orange Cassidy. Just stop it from here.
All right.